How y'all doing, everybody? This is Victor back with another video. My YouTube channel is Life on Wheels. Obviously, for those of you that have been watching my channel, this will be my first interview, and this person that I'm gonna about to interview, she was Miss Runner Up for, I believe, Phoenix, and she has a disability. We're gonna go more in depth in the interview, so I hope y'all guys enjoy it and stick around for the whole interview. And please like, share, and subscribe. As I was saying, guys, this is my friend Annette that I met a couple weeks ago. She actually reached out to me through my YouTube channel. For most of you that already know, my YouTube channel is Life on Wheels, and also for the ones that don't know, my YouTube channel name is Life on Wheels, and I have an Instagram, so I will link that down below, and I will have a Facebook fan page uh, coming soon. So I hope y'all enjoy this interview. All right, so how you doing, Jeanette?
I'm doing okay. How
I mean,
about yourself?
Annette, right?
Yes,
Okay,
Annette.
Annette. So can you tell my audience a little bit about yourself?
Um, Annette Galvan Ortiz. I have a Facebook channel, um,
And,
blazinwheelzchika.
and if you
Um,
want, I can also put that down below. If you want me to, I can do that for you.
okay, yes, that's fine. I'm 37 years old from Phoenix, Arizona. Um, Married. Um, in 2016 is when my disability all started. Even though I had other health issues, the main one that affected my mobility is called reflex sympathetic dystrophy, also known as complex regional pain syndrome.
And let me first question I have for you: since you had this disability, how has it affected your social life, and also, your friends? I mean, your relationship with your family. You don't have to go too much in detail, but can you tell me a little bit about that?
Um, it has affected my social life. In the beginning, I was very alone, isolated. A lot of the time, I was inside um, because of the traumatic change. It became hard for me to learn and navigate the world in a wheelchair. It's something that nobody really teaches you. You just meet people or you learn as you go. Now I am more social than I was back when all of this started 3.5 years ago. So it did affect me. Going outside, I had to wait for like my husband or my parents or sometimes my sister to take me somewhere. I didn't know about the services that they had, like dial a ride. Those are things that I didn't know that existed until later on. That's when I found out about them. And I was starting to go out more um, because of me finding out about those services. But most of the time, it was just going to like the grocery store, things like that. I ended up meeting other people that are disabled and I started to go out like to more social events. Um, as far as the relationship with my family, um, I've been married for some time, so um, it didn't really affect it that much. I still see my sisters and my brothers, my nieces and nephews. Obviously, when something like this happens, my whole family was very, very worried about me, um, especially my parents, because of all of this. But I think with time, um, we've gotten better at navigating
with
things.
with your disability?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah.
Now let me ask you this: I probably should have asked you this in the beginning, but can you explain, to my audience, like, like when you, what were the symptoms that you started feeling of your disability before you knew you had it?
I woke up after the um I woke up one day and the first symptom that I experienced was excruciating pain. A secondary symptom of CRPS or RSD is allodynia, and that's one of the other symptoms that I experienced, where it's a sensitivity to touch. And I'm not talking about just like a little thing; it's very hypersensitive.
Right. I
Like,
did, when I was doing my own research, that's one of the
mm-hmm,
biggest things that surprised me, how any slightest touch it's excruciating pain for you.
yes, yeah. Even the fan, what it's just from the pressure of a fan or the air conditioner, it that hurts, and it's not even touching you; it's just the pressure. That slightest touch, it's your body becomes very hypersensitive. And with time, I cope with it better. I have better coping skills than I first did when I first started to experience this. I try my best to use mind over matter. So
Mm-hmm.
when I'm in a state of a flare, or I wake up and I'm just not feeling good, I put on the music. I try to surround myself with positivity, because when you let your brain affect your pain, what it ends up doing is it ends up going up higher. So
Right.
your brain, you can train your brain to do some amazing things. So with time, I've learned how to cope with this disability that I have.
Uh, it's crazy to me how, again, it's crazy to me how the slightest touch can bother someone that has your particular disability. And staying on that topic, when you first started going to the doctors, did the doctors know what was physically wrong with you, or did they have to send you to a specialist? Can you explain a little bit about that?
The surgeon I was that did the surgery didn't catch it right away. So I during the recovery, you're not supposed to put any weight on the part that you got surgery on.
Right.
Like I told you before, I ended up falling.
Mm-hmm.
When I was going to therapy, I was having a hard time placing weight on the place on my foot. My left foot is where the surgery was. So he thought that the pins had shifted when I fell. So I had a second surgery. After the second surgery is when it really went haywire. After that, I did start going to looking for specialists, and it took about the end of the year to finally get diagnosed. So the surgeon and the physical therapy both missed. They didn't notice what was going on.
And when you started looking for a specialist, was the doctor willing to help you, or did you have to do that on your own?
Because of the insurance that I have to kind of do it on my own, because I have to go through my PCP to get a referral. So
Right.
my primary care doctor was the one helping me to get a referral to the neurologist that's really good here in Phoenix.
And I remember you telling me yesterday that that you came down to Texas, and it happened during Harvey, I believe.
Yes, yes.
Can
Uh-huh. That was in August of 2017. There's a specialist out there in Woodlands, Texas, that specializes and helps people get better with what I have. Um, I use a machine every day called the Vector, and that helps to heal your nervous system. It's like a electrical current that you don't feel. It doesn't hurt. and he's really good at it. So I went over there. My mom, God bless my mother. Um, she paid everything for me to get treated there. And I'm able to have the machine here at home. I communicate with him through email when I need things. And he's a wonderful doctor.
And did your insurance help you with any of this?
No, my mom had to pay all out of pocket. A lot of the problems is that because um, the condition I have, the things that do help with it, um, for you to be able to live your best life, insurance doesn't cover it because it's kind of like um, acupuncture, things that
Oh, it's like more
help.
natural based
Yes,
stuff.
so they don't cover those kind of things, unfortunately.
See, but to me, because I'm also a disabled person, I feel like if it's alternative medicine that helps, your insurance should be able to to pay for some of these things. It never made sense to me
Yeah,
why why insurance limit naturally based, you know, healing processes, for lack of a better word.
yes, yeah, I believe the same thing, but that's just the way insurance runs, unfortunately.
And it just doesn't make any sense. But you know, I can go off on this topic forever, and I don't want to do that. so, but so in your experience with CFS, right? That's what it's called, CFS,
No, it's called CRPS.
right? Because they changed the name of it, right?
Yes.
And
I
can
with
you
research. Uh-huh.
can you explain why they changed the name of it?
I believe because they find their with research they find new things along the way and that's why they change it. But a lot of the people that have had it for 20, years or maybe 10 years when it was called RSD, that's really what they call it, like the people that have had it longer
Right.
because it kind of goes more along with what it is, the definition.
And let me ask you this, because a lot of disabilities they have, we have a lot of the same symptoms, even though they're two totally different disabilities. And you might know not might know you might not know much about my particular disability, which is CP. But is there any symptoms that you think that I might have that you may have?
Yeah, like brain fog. You
Which
might
okay.
have fog. I'm not sure if you do, but I know I talk to other people that have different disabilities where they have brain fog or they have chronic fatigue syndrome.
Well, now that you mention it, recently I've been having like like I sleep at night, but then I wake up, let's say at 2 in the morning, and then from 2 in the morning on, I sleep like in maybe 30-minute increments. I'm always getting up. I
Yeah,
don't know if that has anything to do with it.
I call that pain somnia, where it's like my pain affects my sleep, so it's like the pain and insomnia mixed together. So I call it pain somnia.
But let me ask you this: I'm not experiencing any pain.
No, well, yeah, sometimes other different disabilities don't have pain, but I don't know. It's just insomnia.
And it recently started happening a lot, and I don't honestly, I guess I don't like going to the doctors because I go to the doctor so often, but maybe I need to talk to my doctor about it.
Yeah, maybe you do. I know I go to the doctors pretty frequently too. Lately, because of the coronavirus, I just do telemedicine.
Right, over video. Well,
Yeah.
I recently had to go. I don't know if you've been to Tier here in Houston, Texas.
Yes, I've been to Houston, Texas.
No, have you been to Tier, the hospital Tier, Tier
Oh,
Memorial
no,
Hermann?
No, I've never been there
No,
before.
that's the hospital I go to get my treatment, and like they had me wearing a surgical mask the whole time I was there. They checked my temperature. You know, I was there for about 4 hours. They didn't let me take my mask off or nothing. I'm just tired of this coronavirus. And let me ask you this, because you're also runner up for Miss Wheelchair Phoenix, right?
Yes.
And
Yeah.
okay, can you you know, tell the people what that experience was like for you, or did it help you create a platform for yourself to reach out with people with disabilities?
Um, it was a good experience. I had a lot of fun and I met a lot of other people. And I was able to share my story. That's the most important thing to me is sharing my story. Um, but because of the coronavirus, um, most of the time right now, I'm only doing like videos,
Right, like we are
interviews,
now.
things like that. So when I when after the competition, I did a video on my page, and that generated a lot of people actually seen it. So that was about the only way right now is through video.
And do you have people reaching out to you, asking you for interviews and stuff like that? The reason I'm asking you this is because I know your disability it's a rare thing, and I feel like more awareness you have about it, the better it is, not only for you but other people with this disability.
Yes, I have. I actually have one coming up. And I had one last month, but because I wasn't feeling good and then the numbers for the coronavirus were really high, I canceled because that one was actually going to be a person to person
All right,
interview and I just didn't feel safe. But the one that's coming up, I just going to write my story and email it to them. And I'm going to be featured in the Ability 360 here in not ability, it's a spinal cord injury of Arizona. They have a magazine
right, and
and I'm
you're gonna be
in.
featured in it.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. You know, I hope to get I hope to get to that point where you know a lot of people view my channel now because I want to bring awareness not only to my disability but all disabilities. And I also
Yes.
want to become a disabilities advocate. I want to deal more with the legal side as well, like with insurance. You know how we were just talking a few minutes ago on how your insurance doesn't approve certain things. I feel like people with disabilities, we need to speak up. We need to have someone that has a voice that's willing to go talk to Congress and even the president if it gets to that point. And I'm willing to do that. I really want to do that.
Yes, that's kind of like what I want to do as well. Like I don't want to just talk about my disability. My makeup page, I talk while I'm doing my makeup about my disability and I want to bring awareness to others as well. Just because there's so many people, the biggest minority group are disabled people. And the problem is that until you become disabled is when you're kind of surrounded by that. I
Right,
want people that aren't disabled to open their eyes to it because I didn't plan on this, and so many other people aren't born with a disability, and it's kind of thrown at you, and you
right,
don't know what to do. In society, just there's not enough education.
right. And for me, as we were talking yesterday, I believe, you know, people see me and other people with disabilities, and they automatically assume, well, what can this guy do or what can she do? It's like all we want is a chance to show you what we can do. But
Yeah.
society, they see us it's not normal for them to see us out in public. I guess they expect us to be in some kind of dark room or something. Just spending our days in the dark room.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really I kind of believe the same thing. I think before the use of technology, people most of the time were in the room, but with technology and the ADA law going into effect, we've had a lot of growth.
Right.
And well, just society need to know that.
And by the way, guys, this month is Disability Awareness Month. That's one of the reasons we wanted to do this interview this month, and and it was 30 years ago yesterday, I believe, that the ADA was passed, and I'm thankful that the ADA did pass, but I still believe there's a lot of work to be done as far as the ADA.
Yes, I believe the same thing. There's still a lot of work to be done. There's been a lot of things that have paved the way, but we still have more. With anything, you
Right.
still have to keep working to make that mission heard and to keep it in this place and for it to move forward. So I totally agree with you.
And as far as and I feel like some people that have a disability, some of us were just afraid to speak up for ourselves, and I feel like we need to speak up to ourselves for ourselves no matter what, because sometimes we may be the only ones speaking up for ourselves. Sometimes nobody else will.
Yep, that's very true. When I encounter a problem, that's one of the reasons why I speak up, because I speak up not only for myself but for other people, because I don't want them to go through the same thing. You know, I'm new to this, but I don't want people that become disabled or anybody that's disabled to go through that. I've had a, a lot of instances that have happened.
Right? Can you give us an example of one that happened?
In 2017, I the other day, I think it was yesterday, I shared this with you about my dad and my stepmom taking me out to
Right.
dinner for my birthday. And there's a restaurant that's a local here. It's like a mom and pop restaurant that they've been going to for years. And I've been there before, but I wasn't in a wheelchair. So the server, they introduced me and they said, "This is my daughter." Um, and the girl, because I'm in a wheelchair, kind of blurted it out. "Oh, I thought all of your children were older and they were married." So she kind of just ignorantly thought that because I'm in a wheelchair that I'm not married. And there's so many people that are disabled that are married. They have children, they have a family. So that was like a big eye opener. And then being that it was my birthday, I was kind of like upset that she said that, but my stepmother always defends me. So she's the one that spoke for me because I was kind of shocked that she said that. That's just one example.
Right. And I've had a similar experience, and I also shared this with you yesterday, where I was, it was after church. It was me and my mother and my pastor. We went out to eat, and they normally ask you if you want something to drink first, and instead of asking me, they asked my mother. I looked over at that guy, and I'm like, "Dude, I'm sitting right here. You can ask me. I can talk." So I've dealt with things like that all my life. Unlike yourself, I've been in this wheelchair, my whole life. This is all I've known. I don't know what it's like to be a able-bodied person. But when I always tell people, I can I can relate to a able-bodied person because I understand. I know what's going on. I see the discrimination that disabled people go through because I'm a disabled person, and sometimes I'm out with my friends, and they ask me, they're like, "Bro, it doesn't bother you that people stare at you?" I'm like, if they do, hopefully they're staring at me because they feel inspired by me or something like that. But if they're looking at me in a negative way, it's their problem. But my challenge to all people with disabilities, if we want to make this a normal thing where people quit looking at us like we're some kind of alien, we need to be more out there. We need to be more outspoken. We need to stand up for ourselves, no matter what the cost is.
Yes, I very much agree with you. I get the same thing, and at first it used to bother me. Now it doesn't really bother me. Sometimes I'll say hi to them,
Yeah,
just let them know that I do notice that they're
right.
looking at me.
Yeah,
People are surprised that I say hi, but I'm like, I do see you.
yeah. You
you
you let them know, hey, I'm looking at you, and I
hmm
bet you they look away, don't they?
Yes, they do.
and,
Or sometimes they'll like look like, how do they say? Like, yeah, I can see you.
yeah,
Hello. My
yeah,
mom is the one. Like, if I'm with my mom or my husband, um, they'll kind of get upset, but I don't get upset because, like you said, it's them, not me.
yeah, yeah. It's
That to me, it's a reflection on who they are, not on
right,
who I.
right. And honestly, our family members is they do it because they love us. So I mean,
Yeah,
I can't get mad at them for that. But at the same time, it's like if I don't get mad, why should you get mad? I'm the one that should be getting mad before you do. But
yeah, that's what I tell.
but
I just tell my mom is the one that gets more upset than my husband. Um, I'll just tell her, don't get mad. Why do you get mad? You're letting them ruin your day. Don't do
yeah,
that.
exactly. It's gonna ruin your day.
Yeah.
And
But I understand, like you said, they love you. So I understand why my mom gets upset
right.
because she's my mother.
And let me ask you this. Before you were disabled, what was your experience? Or, did you even put a thought into people with disabilities?
Yes, I used to be a caregiver.
Oh, were
Um,
you really?
yes, I was a caregiver from 19 until this happened in 2016. So it was almost 15 years. I stopped working December 2016, and I got my certificate signed by this, and everything when I was done with training and going to school in March of 2003. So yeah, it was almost 15 years. And I
So,
was a med tech too, so
so let
I
me
was
ask you this.
disabled people all my life as an
That's
adult.
crazy. And
Yeah.
now that you're, disabled, now that sometimes now it's like it flipped on you. Now you're the one that needs the care, and but so now that you're the one that needs the care, what what do you see that you didn't see when you were doing the caregiving? Do you understand the question?
Yes. Um I that's kind of a, well, like I said, I guess I seen a lot of, um what is the word that I want to use? Um it was like a 360 turnaround.
Right,
You- Um the good thing is that my mom's always been my caregiver, so I don't have like an outside person, so I feel comfortable. She's my mother. She gave birth to me. Um but I did see a lot of people like, um even my mother, like, I think in the Hispanic community, our family tends to want to baby us. And
right. I gotta 100% agree with that.
yeah, so when that's one of the reasons why I wouldn't go out by myself, because my mom would say, oh, something's gonna happen to
Yeah,
you,
right.
somebody could hurt you. And like, mom, I'm gonna be okay, like, I'll be fine. I have to learn how to live, mom, because you're not gonna be here for all of my life. You know,
Exactly.
today God's gonna take you from me, and I'm gonna need to learn how to live with my disability. So that's one thing that I would see, not only in my mom, but my dad too.
And that's now that you brought that up, you know, I'm not trying to go racial with it, but one thing I noticed about the white community is that they're there for their kids, but at the same time they're not. They're only there when they absolutely need the help. But other than that, they're like, you gotta grow up. You know,
Yeah,
it's time for you to get out of my house. You gotta do what you gotta do. And I feel like it's the other way around, like you said, with the Hispanic community, where we tend to want to baby everybody. And I feel like as far as the Hispanic community as a whole, we need to learn to be there for our kids, but at the same time not be there.
yes,
You
yeah, that,
understand what I'm saying?
yeah, because that's probably why other races have more advancement because they don't baby them. There's a good thing and a bad thing with everything.
Right, right,
I know if I never told my mom that, I would still be isolated in my room. I would never have met the people that I know today if I didn't do that. But I've always been a person that likes people. I've always been a talker. Even though I'm shy, it does take me time to open up to you. I still like to be out
right.
because I was always a person out working. Since I was 14 years old, I started working. So I've always, that was a big, another thing when you asked that question that was, I worked. So accepting that I can't work like I used to um, was something very big for me as well because I was very independent.
And have you tried going back to work? Like obviously at a job that you can do, being in a wheelchair ever since you had an accident, or you haven't tried going back to work?
I haven't, just because my I'm still learning because it's only 3.5 years. I also have POTS with POT syndrome, so I'm barely learning how to cope with that new diagnosis. Even though I've had it for longer than RSD, I don't know when I'm gonna pass out.
Right.
So that's scary. So when I go out somewhere, I need somebody with me. So working, I don't know if I could do that right now
Okay.
because of
And
that.
and you don't think you might not ever be able to go back to a quote unquote average job?
I don't think I'll ever be able to know because with POT syndrome, um, what happens is that the my blood flow doesn't get to my brain, and then that's why I end up having an episode of blacking out,
Can
passing out.
since you brought POTS up, can you expand a little bit on what POTS is? Go a little bit more in depth on what that is.
So it's called postural tachycardia. Let me look. I can't remember how they pronounce it because I've only in March before the coronavirus really got bad. I was having symptoms 9 years ago, but they weren't as frequent as they are now. Like they happen every week, sometimes 2 or 3 times um, during the week. When I first had the first symptom, it happened like once or twice a year. Now it's like every week it happens. So it's a lot different than it was when I first had the first symptom.
And let me ask you this: Is it can stress cause it to happen more frequent, or can depression cause it more? You know, can stuff like that, like your mood change, affect your POTS?
I don't think it's the mood. What I notice is that because it's hot here in Arizona, that it affects me because of the heat. My when I have an episode, what I know it only gives me a minute or less than a minute of as I'm learning about this of a sign of
So it
like
gives
for
you kind
my
of like a
brain.
warning.
Yes, a warning. So my brain tells my body somehow, I don't really know
Hey, this
how
is about to happen.
I get really clammy, and then very weak. Like my body feels very weak, and I just literally, I'm like sitting here and I'm thinking, okay, I'm gonna pass out. There's not enough time a lot of the time for me to get to a place that's safe. So sometimes I fall. Um, Thankfully, most of the time, it's only happened like 2 or 3 times where we're out somewhere. But most of the time it happens when I'm at home, thankfully, but I get hot. So I think the heat does affect it. I don't know if it's my emotions that affect it. I haven't noticed that. So I'm going to read the definition of what it is. There's this website is called www.nids.nih.gov, and therefore it has a lot of different rare diseases. It also has CRPS and the definition of that. But it's post-oral orthostatic, orthostatic tachycardia syndrome. POTS is one of the groups of the disorders that have orthostatic intolerance. It as their primary symptom. So when I have an episode, my heart starts to go like palpitations. And I think the reason why it does that is because it's trying to get the blood to my brain.
Yeah,
So
trying to make it flow.
my blood pressure goes down. So that's why my heart's going like that, because it's trying to work harder.
Right.
And there's three different types. I have the type that my blood pressure goes low. There's other ones that the blood pressure goes high. And then there's another one that your adrenaline is higher.
And let me ask you this. This might be a strange question, but which one is the best one for you to have? What I mean by that is like which one is the less harmful? I guess that's what I'm trying to ask.
That I don't know how to answer. I'm sorry.
No problem. It's no big deal.
Just because I haven't had it that long. Um, I mean, I've had it for a long time, but just because I've barely been diagnosed with it,
Right. You
that's
don't
the
know too
problem.
much about it.
Rare, rare, illnesses, that because not every doctor is knowledgeable, sometimes it gets misdiagnosed. You might have been diagnosed this year, but you've had it for a long time.
Right. You just don't
Down,
know you
it's
had it.
not to minimize anybody, because I have it and I don't want to minimize anybody that has it. I
Right.
know how it feels, and it's very, for my mother, my father, my sisters, um, my nephew, my husband. It's very scary to see somebody. Even I was at my friend's house one time when I had an episode. Um, it's very scary to see somebody that's alert 1 minute and then the next minute they're passed out and they're not able. I can't speak during that time because my body is passed out. I can't speak.
So like you're totally paralyzed in that moment.
Yes, yes. There's some episodes that are worse than others. Like my worst episodes where my body becomes paralyzed, where I can't move my hands. Um, I might be able to talk, but I'm stuttering. Um, and those are the worst episodes,
And
and
like
it's very scary.
and
And
do you
because,
can
because of that, I don't think I'll ever drive. I don't want to drive, and I'm perfectly fine with not driving because I'm scared that I'll end up hurting somebody or getting in a crash and hurting myself too, so
right.
I
You don't
can't
want to
drive.
take that risk,
No.
and it's
So
understandable.
I see it as a good thing. My husband can be my chauffeur.
Yeah. There you go. And let me ask you this. Um, like I don't want to go too personal because it's your business, but like since you had it, what does your what did your husband first think of it? You know, when you were first diagnosed with it, with it,
With RSD or POTS.
with the first one.
Um, he was concerned. Um, he was scared. I could see it in his face. And actually, one day we were in the car, and he told me, if you ever don't get out of the chair and you don't get better, I don't care. I love you. I'm not going to leave you. And don't worry about that. I'm not leaving. And it wasn't even something that ever dawned on me because I was going through so much with my health that
That
our
was the least of your
relationship was,
worries.
yes, it was the least of my worries. But it was something that I think he had to say because probably other people were asking him that. Sometimes people do ask him, "Oh, you're still with your wife?" Yes, I love her. And what he says is that I didn't fall in love with her legs or the way that she walked. I fell in love with her.
And see, that's a good message. I'm glad that you said that because that's a good message, not only for the disabled community, but for everybody in general. Because you know, obviously I'm not married, but I do hope to be one day. But people don't take their wedding vows serious no more. It's in sickness and in health till death do
Yeah.
you part. And
Mhm.
as soon as something, let's say like yourself, for example, let's say your husband could easily say, you know what, I'm gone. You deal with it on your own. And that does happen a lot. But
Yes.
thankfully, in your case, it didn't. And I hope people can take what you just said and take it to heart and stick by their wives or their husbands, no matter what they're going through.
Hmm. I think the reason why um it's him, the person that he is. Before meeting him, I was raised as a Catholic and nothing against religion, but he was very into his faith.
Right,
He was somebody that totally opposite of the people that I dated before I met him. I was always a good girl, but I always dated bad boys.
right,
And I was attracted to that. I don't know why. I
right.
was a young kid, so I didn't see the bigger picture. Here I meet my husband, and he's the total opposite of the people that I dated. He was always a working man, a determined, responsible, and a firm believer in his faith. And I
So,
think that's the reason why he stayed because he loves God. And
so let me ask you this: Is he
my
a Christian?
recovery is, yes, he is. He's
Or is he a
Christian.
Christian? What denomination do y'all, you know, adhere to? I guess let me say it like that.
Um, Pentecostal
Right.
Christian.
Okay. Right.
Yeah, so I think because of that, anytime we went through any trial or tribulation, we've always leaned on God. And if it wasn't for the relationship that we have with God, we wouldn't be together today.
Amen to that. Amen. Yeah.
Part
It.
of my recovery was always him because I went through a deep depression during the first year of my disability. And he would always remind me to read the Bible. And I listened to him. I For a while I was disobedient and I didn't. But his mom and him would tell me, read the Bible. When you have those feelings of depression, open your Bible. And that's what I started to do. And that love that God has was pouring into me. And that helped me to get out of that deep depression and start to move on with my disability and not let my depression affect me because it really did. It took me to a really dark place.
Amen. I'm glad that. Now, were you a believer that before you met your husband, or was it through your husband that you came to faith in Christ?
It was through my husband that I came to faith. Like, I believe God always finds a way. And even when I was younger, I would go to church with my parents, but my
You didn't have a
parents
relationship with
separated,
God.
and I still wanted to go to church. So I would go by myself, like when I was 13 or 14, to the neighborhood church. I would walk there sometimes. Sometimes a neighbor would pick me up, and we would go together, but I would go by myself. I got little bit older and rebellious, so I stopped going. But I always had love for God, but I needed somebody to plant the seed, and my husband was the seed.
Right. So how old were you when you say that you truly came to faith in God?
I believe I was about 20, 23.
Okay. I was
About
22.
I think it's been like 14 years.
You got a couple years on me. I've been a Christian now going on 11 years.
Oh, okay. It's not that far behind. It's cool. Sharing stories.
Is there anything you would like to ask me? I don't. I know it's me interviewing you, but I'm like very open about my disability. So feel free to ask me whatever you want.
What are some of the struggles that you go through? I guess what.
Well, some of the struggles I go through is like me, like like sometimes I applied for a couple jobs in my life, and like the places I go apply to, they give me the interview, but then they tell me, oh, we'll call you back, and they never call me back, or it's like, if you don't want to hire me, just tell me we're not gonna hire you. Don't make me call you back. If if it's no, it's no. It's so I feel
Yeah,
like there's, as far as for disabled people, the people, employers are not willing to give us the chance to show them what we can do. Yeah,
yeah,
it might be a little bit more difficult for us, but give us the opportunity to show you that we can do something.
yeah. That's true. That's true. And a lot of the times, what they don't realize is that we're very faithful. We're not going to be like other people that are constantly calling off or
Yeah,
making excuses because we want to be out there and contribute to society.
like I heard the story of this one girl that I met one day, and she said that she applied at, I believe it was at HEB, and she went in for the interview. She said the manager saw me right away and said, "We can't hire you." Didn't even say hello or anything. Just said, "We can't hire you." And she was like, "Why?" And that the man didn't want to tell her, because you're in a wheelchair. But he pointed to her wheelchair. It's because of your chair. And she was like, "Look, all I want is a chance. You're not even giving me the chance to do the interview." And she said that she left, and a day or two later, the the lawyer from HEB called her and said, "Look, you're not gonna sue us, are you?" And she said, "No, all I wanted was a chance. She said the manager didn't even give me the interview. He automatically wrote me off. So they were like, you know what? We'll give you a week trial and see how it goes." So she did it. As soon as that week was up, they fired her. But what I believe they wanted to do is they wanted her to hire her for that week so they can say, "Oh, see, we gave her a chance." And just so she won't sue. But she told me that wasn't my intention to sue them. It was my intention to try to get a job.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. I believe it probably happens to a lot of people, and it's so sad. Um, I know if I needed wanted to get a job back, I could go back to the job that I had because when this all started happening, obviously I was on medical leave and they couldn't fire me legally. So I had to resign. But before I did that, the HR lady told me if you ever want a job, we can find a job that you don't have to do physical work. You could be a receptionist and you're going to be sitting, so you don't have to do anything physical. So that job is
There, if
something I
you ever want to go
back to.
back.
And I would go back because that job, I worked there for 10 years and it's a wonderful place to work at. Uh, they have an employee fund, crisis fund, and I was on medical leave, so I wasn't physically working, but I was still part of the company. The HR lady told me to sign up for it because she knew I was going through financial struggles to pay bills. So I only asked for $800. I calculated what the car was and the rent, and it came out to be like eight something. They gave me $2,000,
Wow,
and they
that
didn't have that. So it's a good company. Um, it's just it's a retirement care center, but it happens to be very expensive. So I couldn't afford to live there, but I could work there. It's a really good company, and they actually got an award um, from AZ Central for being one of the top 10 companies to work for in Central Phoenix.
that's amazing. And
That
the,
that's one of the reasons why I worked there that long, because they cared for the people that lived there. It wasn't just a money making company. They
right,
actually
they
cared
didn't
for
see
the
you. They
people.
didn't see you as just an employee. They didn't see you as a number. They saw you as a human being.
Yes, yes.
And
And I
that.
think
I'm sorry.
I
Go
didn't
ahead.
even think of that crisis fund until she told me you can apply for it. And I thought, well, I'm not physically working, so I didn't think I could. Yes, you can apply for it. I'll send you the information, or you can come pick it up. And if it wasn't for her, I would have never even thought of that. But you could tell really if the character of a company
Right,
by the way they treat you.
right.
And unfortunately, there's so many companies that aren't like that.
They just see you as a number and oh, this happened to me. Oh, we have to let you go.
Yeah.
That's amazing, and that's the biggest blessing to me. For you is that if you ever want to go back, they're like you're more than welcome to come back.
Yes. Yeah. I just don't think that I'm physically able to yet. Hopefully one you don't know. Maybe hopefully one day I will be. There's always that faith and that hope, but
Right,
right now I have to be careful.
right, and also you can like do what I'm trying to do. You know, if you end up not going back, you can become an advocate for people with disabilities and stuff like that. Because what I feel for people like us, that like I said at the beginning of the interview, that we need people out there. We need people willing to put themselves out there and say, "Hey, help my community, help my people." And when I say this, I mean the disabled community. And in a way, I'm talking about everybody because at some point, one way or another, you're gonna have to get on medical leave, whether it's you know you you becoming pregnant or you break your leg. So
Mm.
this not only helps people that are able-bodied, I mean disabled. It also helps able-bodied people.
Yes, that's true. Yeah, that's why I started my channel. I wanted that was one of the reasons I wanted to advocate for different disabilities, not just mine. I wanted to open up because it's makeup, and girls when they do makeup they're sitting down. If I go like this, people aren't going to really know that I'm in a
Right,
wheelchair. And for um I've actually gotten messages. One time I am friends with people because of me watching other videos of people doing makeup. I became friends with other people, and one of them was surprised. She didn't know that I was in a wheelchair. So I'm like, well, yeah, I am. There's nothing wrong with that.
yeah,
She was surprised, and I was like, this is why I do makeup, because you wouldn't know I'm sitting down that I'm in a wheelchair. So open your mind. I'm an awesome person. There's a lot of awesome people out there that
right.
have this.
And have you ever had anyone like comment negatively on social media because of your disability? Like you shouldn't be doing makeup or whatever because you're disabled.
No, thankfully I haven't. Thank God I haven't had a negative experience. No, thank God.
That's awesome. And like I said, I hope that you can get back a lot of what you lost physically. But if not, God has a. I always say God has a plan and a purpose for it. Even though
Yeah.
it's hard, I've been like this 33 years of my life, but I do believe that God has a plan and a purpose for it. Like as most of the people know on my channel and my other social media platforms, I want to end up where I can go to different companies and speak, different churches and speak. So I might not be able to have my legs physically, or I might not be able to lift up my legs. I mean, lift up my arms and stuff like everybody else. But I do have a voice, and I believe God gave me this voice to reach out to people, not only in the disabled community, but in the world in general, to bring Him to God through my story, to bring people to God through my story.
That's awesome. That's very good. Um, I can't remember what I was saying. Want to say I can't remember. Sorry.
So,
Sometimes it happens.
yeah, and the reason I keep interrupting you is because in my, like, on my end, I get a lot of lag. So by the time you're done by the time I think you're done talking, you're still talking, but that's only because of the earpiece I'm using. You know,
Oh,
it's causing that to happen.
oh, it's okay. I kind of figured that because you kept going like this to your
Yeah.
earpiece.
Hmm.
Yeah. What I was gonna say is because of makeup, it opens up a lot of doors.
Hmm.
So hopefully my channel will open those doors. That I really want to help people. I always, since I was a kid, I always had a very big heart, and I still do. I just love helping people, and I that was really hard for me to accept that I wasn't going to be able to help people in a physical way, but I still have a voice.
Right.
When I first this all started, my disability, I would say, "Why me, Lord? Why me?"
Yeah.
There's a saying that a lot of people say, God only gives you what you can handle.
Yeah.
And He knows that I can handle this because I was born a fighter. For one, the way that I was born, I think I shared this with you. Um, I was born not breathing, so they had to do CPR on me.
No, I
And,
don't think you shared this with me.
huh?
I think you. Wait a minute. I think you did, but in the text message, I think
Yeah,
so.
yeah. So because of me losing oxygen to my brain, I had developmental delays. I was in
Disabilities.
special education, but my mom was a very big advocate for me. So I ended up at sixth grade getting my first honor roll. So I didn't have to be in special ed anymore. Thankfully, I had a mom that was, really um, a big
Willing to fight
advocate.
for
If it
you.
was for her, yes,
Right.
because in those, I was born 1982. I'm 37. In Phoenix, there wasn't a lot of schools at that time that had special education. So I went, out of all of the kids in that school, I was the one that was picked to go to that school. It wasn't in my district. I
Wow,
had to
that's
be
amazing.
taken by bus every day. They would pick me up in front of my house, and if it wasn't for my mom, I don't know where I would have been, because my mom has 15 brothers and sisters. In those days, it wasn't really important for kids to go to school like it is now. So my mom missed a lot of those educational things that she should have been given. So she saw that in me and didn't want that to happen to me because it's something that she has to live with. And if it wasn't for her, I don't know where I would be. And because of me losing oxygen to my brain, my neurologist thinks that that's the reason why I have what I have. That it's a contributing factor because I already had a messed up neurological system.
Right, and lack of oxygen to my brain is the cause of me having cerebral palsy as well. So yeah,
Yeah, so it can manifest in different ways.
right, yeah, it really can. So so I guess we'll leave it here, and thank you again for letting me. Thank you again for letting me interview you, and And so just thank you, and I hope that your channel could grow on Facebook. You said right?
Yes.
Can you tell the people again what your Facebook channel, what the name of it is?
Blazing Whales Chica. That's BLAZINWHEELZCHIKA on Facebook.
And do you have any other social medias you would like to put out there?
I started a YouTube channel and it's the same name. Um, my I'm using the same name, but I haven't really posted much on there. I'm gonna try my best to think of ways um, to do videos for YouTube because most of the time when I do videos on Facebook, I decide to go live or sometimes I'll do cooking because I want to give people inspiration that I have essential tremors, that even though I have hands that aren't normal, I'm still able to cook. So that I do videos mostly live.
Oh, so you do like Facebook Lives and stuff? I
Mm-hmm.
do a little both. I do Facebook and YouTube. And what I do, I believe I'm also following you on your YouTube channel. So I'll post that down below as well in the video description below. So
Okay. Thank you.
no problem.
And I hope you have a blessed day. I enjoyed talking to you.
Same here. And we'll keep in touch. And I guess that's it, everybody. Thank you, and have a blessed day, everybody.